This one is inspired by, so I have to give credit where credit is due. The original content comes from a man named Jim Rohn. However, I was able to grab what he teaches, and I think that's what he would want also, and to be able to personalize it a little bit, to add one's own experience to it, and to use that content to deliver a different message. And it might reach a different audience. It might strike a different nerve with somebody. And so I learned everything I've learned from him in this talk, and I'm sharing it on with you. So some people always, I've been approached by a few people saying, hey, where do you come up with all this stuff? How do you know all this stuff? How do you just speak off the top of your mind with this stuff? It's like this, man, I make my car my classroom. Every day when I'm driving 40 minutes to work and 40 minutes back from work, I'm listening to someone that knows more than I do. I'm listening to something that has more insight than I have. And by the process of doing that every single day, I start to gain and accumulate a lot of wealth and knowledge. Jim Rohn passed away in 2009. I've never met him. I've never heard him speak. I've never had the opportunity to shake his hand. However, every single day, I'm with him for at least 40 minutes. And that's where I learn all this stuff from. And so this one is called The Day That Will Change Your Life Around. It's actually the 4 emotions that will change your life around. So if you're watching this and you're like, all right, today sounds like a good day that I could change my life around. Well, I'm going to give you some of the ingredients needed to make that happen. What are the necessary components of that happening? Okay, so bear with me. These 4 emotions, by the way, emotions are a powerful thing. I mean, emotions is what separates human beings with a lot of different life forms, is our complexity of our emotions, our range of emotions, our ability to feel certain things and feel them in a certain way, and then use the power of thought and interpret what it is that we're feeling, and then take actions based on those feelings. I mean, it's a very, very, very powerful originating source of good or bad, right? People under the duress of emotions can do very heroic things, can accomplish monumental tasks. However, they can also do some barbaric acts. They can do some things that, make us have a little bit of shame for the human race, if you will. So this is going to highlight 4 emotions. Take notes if you want. All of the descriptions to these videos are also found in the description of the videos. Go figure. What a genius place to put them. So if you miss anything, just go back and watch the video and you can get a little bit of the highlights of kind of what was discussed. So all that being said, the first human emotion, and this one's a powerful one. It usually gets a really bad negative rap, a bad connotation towards it. And I'm going to use a very, very, very personal story of myself to be able to drive this one home, okay? And the first emotion that could change your life around is the emotion of disgust, okay? Disgust. Gut-wrenching disgust. It is the most powerful human emotion. When you are able to feel and connect to that raw emotion of disgust, you're able to actually transform the next second. And there's a few examples that Jim Rohn uses, and I'll use his and then I'll use mine because a lot of you have been following these and you've got to know me a little bit. So it'd be very nice to share how this certain emotion changed my life and helped me become the person I am today. And so Jim Rohn, in his talk, talks about, one day he's sitting at home, he's about 26 years old, he's a salesman, he's got a wife, he's got a kid, he doesn't really have any success, he's a college dropout, and all of a sudden there's a knock on his door, and he walks up to the door, opens it up, and there's this little cute Girl Scout standing there, and she has this magnificent sales pitch on why these cookies need to be bought right now and how it's going to help her out and this and that. And Jim Rohn's standing there and he's got $2 to his name. Not $2 in his pocket, but $2 to his name. And in that moment, he realizes, I can't buy these cookies from this girl even if I wanted to. And he does what every adult does when the back's against the wall when dealing with a request from a child. He lies to the kid and he says, I would buy it from you, but I just bought a bunch of cookies from another Girl Scout, and then, we had our quota for the year. And she's like, well, I'll be back next time, and hopefully you'll buy from me. And she leaves, and he closes that door, and he feels this small, right? And he felt that feeling of disgust. And he says to himself, I've had it. I'm never going to allow myself to feel this way again. From the age 26 to 31, he goes on a pursuit of personal development. And by the age 31, he actually becomes a millionaire, right? But it all stemmed from that feeling of that knock on the door and not being able to buy a cookie from a Girl Scout. And he shares a story of a female CEO of a Fortune 500 company, that when she rewinded the tape of where her moment of disgust came from, was she was at home, kind of taking care of the child, if you will, and the husband was working. And one day she says, "Hey, can I have $10? And the husband says, "What do you need that for? Right? Tell me what you need the $10 for." And something triggered inside of her. She said to herself that I will never need to explain myself to another person again, even if it is my husband, because I'm doing all this stuff at home, taking care of the child, keeping the house together, and I have to justify $10. And she went on this pursuit to achieve and to empower herself and to become a person that doesn't have to ask for anything. And she became a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. So I'm not Jim Rohn, and I'm not a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. However, there's a moment of disgust that helped change my life, and I'm going to share that with you, okay? And my intention of sharing this with you is for you to be able to explore different areas of your life. Explore your finances, your health, your relationships, your self-esteem, and see if there's an area in your life that you can tap into the feeling of disgust. Because if you can tap into gut-wrenching disgust, that is the first element, the first emotion needed to change your life around today. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, today. So as some of you know, I'm about to be 37 years old, right? And that's still relatively young, and I'm aware of that. However, when I was young adulthood, I was 24 years old, and I hadn't gotten sober yet. So I'm 12 years clean and sober, by the way. I got sober at 25, and I'm about to be 37. So I'm 12 years clean and sober. So at 24, I wasn't. I'm going to paint a little picture of Parham at 24 for some of you, in case you wondering, this well put together man that sits in his living room with lit lights in his face, talking to you and teaching you about personal development. If he just always was this way or wasn't, well, I'm going to speak a little truth for you. At the age of 24, I was a college dropout. I hadn't been to a college classroom in about 4 years probably. The last time I was there, I was kicked out of school for various different reasons, and a GPA of under 1. I withdrawed everything I ever touched. I failed out of classes without even showing up. I couldn't stop drinking to show up to classes. And what happened at 24 was I realized some of my really good friends growing up started to experience some success in life. So I'm looking at my friends I went to high school with, the ones that didn't get caught up with drugs and alcohol. They're graduating college. I'm going to college graduations, and I'm sitting there like, what the heck just happened? They're getting married. They're having kids. They're buying condos. They're traveling. They're going on vacation together. And I can't put together more than an hourly job for a few months without having alcohol get in the way, right? And at the age of 24, my self-esteem was this big. And I remember vividly going on Craigslist looking for employment. Now, why would someone go on Craigslist looking for employment? Is because the traditional ways of getting a job are complete dead ends to them, because they have no experience, no education, no specialty. And I'm on Craigslist just applying to jobs, and I find this job. It said, we're looking for marketing specialists, right? For people that are marketing specialists. Now, I used to watch a lot of TV and a lot of sports, so the only marketing that I was I had a specialization in was with sport, what you see commercials on TV. I was not anyone equipped to go do anything in marketing, but it was a Craigslist job. So you wonder what the heck was going on there. Long story short, I show up to this job interview, and I remember in the car drinking a pint of Jack Daniel's whiskey to be able to calm the nerves, because I didn't, feel comfortable going in a job interview. And I went in there, and it was a group interview, and there's a bunch of us in a room, and they did, a bunch of questions. And after a while, we left. I went home. I received the phone call the next day, and they said, "Hey, congratulations, you got hired with our company." And I remember calling my friends saying, "Hey, I finally got a big boy job. I'm finally going to be able to pull the income that you guys are making, and shit, maybe I'll be able to hang out with you guys a little bit more, do things with you guys." And I remember going to Express and getting a $500 line of credit and buying a bunch of clothes so I can wear to this new job that I have, because the clothes that I had were all basketball clothes, and I wanted to look the part. So I bought a bunch of stuff on credit, and I'd go to work the next day. And again, I drank in the car before I went, because that's what people that have drinking problems and alcoholics do. And I show up to work, and it was a very awkward, weird work setting. So we're sitting there, and there's this person in the front talking about the impact we can make and how much money we can make, and the opportunities that this company allows, and the way that you can work your way up this company. And then they put us into little pods, you know, groups of 4 or 5, and they put us in a car with like a group leader, and we drive to local shopping centers or malls or strip malls. And here's what the marketing job was, my friends. We had to get out of the car. We had a couple different options of brochures or lists or coupons, and we had to walk up unsolicited to strangers and say, "Excuse me, ma'am. Excuse me, sir. I was wondering if you'd be interested in the salon package over here. And if you buy this from me right now, you're going to save $50 rather than buying it in the store." And we were marketing for people, for businesses that were paying us to go be walking commercials for them, if you will. Now, I'm a perfectionist by nature. I mean, I can't say my life was perfect at the time, but this was very humiliating for me, if you will. I don't like rejection. I don't like hearing no. Just walking up to people makes me feel uncomfortable, you know, especially at the time with no self-esteem. And I remember walking around, and by the way, so if someone said, "Hey, I would like to buy from you, but I don't have any cash on me." Back then, there was no Venmo, there was no Apple Pay, there was no, you know, Squarespace or anything like that. I said, "Well, it's okay, ma'am. Let me get my manager here." And they have a credit card processing machine. So some manager would show up with a big credit card processing machine to swipe people's credit cards in the middle of a shopping center. I mean, how horrible was that? And I remember as the day went on for a few hours, and it was really, really hot. And I was getting these big sweat stains underneath my new Express shirt. And I was just drenched in sweat. And I had this jacket that I wore that I threw in the bush somewhere. And I remember just starting to walk away from that site and just started walking down the street. And I did call my mom too. I was far away from home. I didn't have a car because they drove us there. I called my mom and said, "Can you just come pick me up?" And she drove over to pick me up and put me in the car and say, "What's going on?" And I didn't even want to talk about it at the point. I went home that night, and we're talking about the feeling of disgust that could change your life around. I had this gut-wrenching disgust with who I had become, where my life had headed to. I was somebody that was not able to get a job, that had a raging drinking problem, that would buy hard drugs anytime he had money, that was starting to just lose his character, that was, I'd lost hope in life, right? And I got to the point that I was sick and tired of being sick and tired. I just had it. And mind you, at this point, I wasn't associating everything to drugs and alcohol. So I didn't say that I'm going to stop drinking and my life's going to change. I said I have to do something different with my life, and my life will change. Because from that moment on, I went another 6 months before I stopped drinking. So, but what I did that day was this. I said that I will no longer ever take a job that doesn't value the person I am. So therefore, I had to become a man of value. I went on this, I said, I'm going back to school, man. You know, and I know school's not for everybody. And I said, I have to go to school, because if I don't, these are the jobs, this is the road, this is the path that's paved for me. And I didn't want it. I don't want to be the guy hustling coupons in a shopping center, you know? And I tried to go back to school. I moved away to go to another state to go to school, because I thought if I leave, you know, my home ground, it's a little bit easier to go to school. And I struggled over there too, because the alcohol problem was actually a primary for me. You know, the addiction was a primary. Until I had that under control, I couldn't go back to school. But what happened was I went back to school once I got sober. So June 13th, 2008, I got sober. And probably by August, so a couple months later, I was in a community college class trying to take classes to get some human services, drug and alcohol counseling, just some community college back to get the momentum going. And, you know, everybody told me, you're going to school too early, you're going to fail, you should just focus on your sobriety. But they didn't know that feeling of disgust that I had lit inside my soul. They didn't understand how disgusted I was with the fact that I didn't have anything in life. I knew that no matter what is going to get in my way, that feeling is going to get me through. I mean, the people that know me watching this right now, they know that not only did I start going classes for drug and alcohol counseling, I did my associates, I went for my bachelor's degree. Some of it happened simultaneously. I was coaching high school basketball. I was in intensive outpatient treatment. Once I got my bachelor's degree, I went into a master's program. From the day I got sober, well, when I started school till when I got my master's, was 7 years, a lot of internships, a lot of practicums, a lot of classes. I did not take a break. I went to school for 7 years straight. And in 2015, I got my master's degree. And here's the thing. The only way I was able to do it is because I was disgusted that day in that strip mall when I was standing in the street and my life had become this small. And I didn't want to be that small. It's very similar to the feeling Jim Rohn had when the door knocked and the Girl Scout cookie person was there. It's very similar to that CEO that had to justify why she wanted $10 to her husband. And I really encourage you. And by the way, to get that master's degree, there were so many nights that I had to stay up all night because I was working full time. You know, like I said, I was coaching basketball. I had a couple jobs, and the only time sometimes that I had to study or to turn in papers or to write papers was in the middle of the night, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning. And people would say, how the heck do you stay up all night? That feeling of disgust. You know, that feeling of disgust. And so I encourage you to take the talk that I just had, you know, in this first part of it, there's 4 emotions. So to look in your own life and find out what area can you identify that with. Because if you can't find that, maybe you're okay with all the areas in your life, and maybe you're okay with not having a dramatic shift or change in your life, and that's okay too. You know, some people are content. Some people are okay with the status quo, and there's nothing wrong with that. But from my experience being a therapist, I know that human beings have areas in their life that they need to at least improve on. And the disgust is the first emotion that is going to be needed to make that transformation. There's no negative connotation with it. You know, when you think about something is disgusting or someone is disgusting, it's not the same thing. It's an internal feeling of disgust with one's circumstances, with one's situations, with one's way of life, right? It's a personal thing. It has nothing to do with anyone. It's not a judgment thing. You know, this type of disgust is not judgment. It might be some judgment towards self, but sometimes we need that. Sometimes we need that. And if channeled properly, it could transform a life, right? Just remember that. So the next one I have right here is the thing called desire, right? And what desire really means is just wanting something. When you really want something, that's what desire is. So the next emotion is desire. And so desire is it's a weird thing because it needs to happen from the inside, right? But it could turn on from the outside. So I'll say that again. Desire is very, very unique in the fact that in order for it to stick and last, it has to be from the inside. It has to light up from the inside. It has to stay lit from the inside. However, there are external forces, inspirational stuff, right? That can inspire someone to turn on their desire. For example, you could be listening to me right now and you can get inspired to go do X, Y, and Z in your life. Sometimes we need that push, that inspiration to kind of get us out of our own level of thinking and into a higher level of thought. Sometimes watching a documentary can inspire someone to make changes in their life, right? If you have always struggled with your health, your weight, your cholesterol, your blood pressure, and you go watch a documentary called Forks Over Knives, or you learn about plant-based whole food nutrition, and you get inspired to utilize nutrition and health and wellness to combat all of those things you've been fighting your whole life, the inspiration came from something from the outside. If you're an artist and you go to a museum and you surround yourself with beautiful fine art and modern art and different art and eclectic stuff, and you go home and all of a sudden you have the inspiration to draw and to paint, to compose, to do whatever it is. If you read a really, really, really good book, right? And you get inspired to finally start writing that book that you've been wanting to write for so long. These are all external forces of inspiration that turn on something internal, and that's human desire, right? Human desire is needed if you're trying to change your life around. We stop short of the goal when we don't have the desire to get all the way there. And I was actually doing this talk earlier today with some of your loved ones that are in our program and some of them that aren't. And when they want to get substances, they will do whatever it takes to achieve their goal. So if you tell an opiate addict that just picked up some heroin and they're high under the influence and they don't have any money, and they know that 4 hours down the line, 8 hours, 16 hours down the line, they're going to start to feel withdrawals, they're going to feel dope sick, their bones are going to crawl out of their skin, they're going to start throwing up and 1 and 2 and everything in between from every direction. They're going to start feeling super anxious and getting cold turkey, And by the way, cold turkey, where the phrase comes from, is some people get, when they quit cold turkey, their skin gets these goosebumps. And if you look at a cold turkey in a fridge, for example, before Thanksgiving, the skin of that looks like the skin of goosebumps. So that's where the cold turkey comes from. Side ADHD tangent. That's what my brain does sometimes. But regardless, there is nothing getting in their way of getting their money to get high and get by. Their desire is there because there's a certain outcome that they're looking for. And I told them that same phenomenon, that same mechanism in the brain, that same willingness, action, that same chain of events that happens there, if channeled into something that they want in their life that's not drugs and alcohol, is still available and possible to them. It can still happen. My desire happened to be with obtaining education, right? I was disgusted and I had this desire to obtain education that I can go and get any job I want to. I shared this with them. I can go into any treatment center in the United States and apply and be a candidate that gets looked at equally with everybody else right now. How about that? And there's a very high probability I'll get a job over many other candidates because of my experience, because of my knowledge, because of my expertise, my specialty, because of my passion. And all of that happened from a feeling of disgust and a desire, right, to never have that happen again. And once it's on, it's hard to turn that off, right? Once it's on, it's hard to turn that off if you stay in the right environment. So I always say when something is turned on in the environment, the elements are conducive to it, it could stay lit forever. And vice versa, if a flame's on but it gets really cold around it and the elements aren't in a way to kind of provide what it needs, it can die out, the flame can die out. So the next one is desire. I don't know what it is for you. I pray, gift of desperation. If you open up the gift of desperation, sometimes you can find this key of willingness, if you will, that's also AKA desire. And I hope that, you either get inspired by talks like this or you get desperate. So it comes from one or two things, either from inspiration or from desperation. And I hope it comes from inspiration because with desperation, it hurts a little bit more. But sometimes that's what we need. Sometimes human beings need to feel a little bit of pain and get desperate enough to have that desire, the gift of desperation, actually be something that looks appealing to them. So the next one that I have here is decision. We talked about this 2 weeks ago, so I'm going to recap something. But I'm talking about the emotion of making a decision. So it's a little bit different. But remember when we talked about decision, we use the word decide, right? And we also look at other words that end with CIDE, like homicide, suicide, genocide, pesticide. We explored what those words have in common. Homicide means killing off somebody else. Suicide means killing off self. Genocide means killing off a group of people. Pesticide means killing off bugs and insects. So a decide, to make a decision, to decide means to kill off any other option, right? But we're talking about emotions here. So making decisions, right, means going to an internal civil war. It's a battle. Here's what I mean by that. If you want to wake up in the morning and start exercising first thing in the morning, that might be a goal for you, or just wake up a little bit earlier, and the alarm goes off at 4:30 in the morning, and you take a look at the alarm, and you take a look at your bed, and you take a look at your shoes that you put laid out for you, there's an internal civil war going on in your life. Do I get up? Do I snooze it? I'll start tomorrow. Oh, it's so cold outside. It's dark outside. I really need to go walk. I've been telling myself I have to do this for so long. When am I going to finally do it? And so on and so on and so on and so on. There's people fighting this war inside your head. And guess what? You are the ultimate decision maker. You have to pick one option. And when you do it, just know that you're killing off all the other options. So when you decide to snooze your alarm or sleep in, you also chose to kill off the fact that you made a commitment to go walk. You killed off the fact that you need to go walk. You killed off the fact that you're okay with your body weight being high. You killed off the fact that you just one more time made a promise to yourself that you didn't follow through with. And we keep moving forward throughout the rest of the day. Maybe you're faced with the opportunity to have some healthy breakfast in the morning, or go to the store or go to the drive-through of McDonald's and get yourself an Egg McMuffin with a hash brown and some coffee or something like that. You know your cholesterol's high. You know your blood pressure's through the roof. You know the doctor's been telling you to eat some freaking oatmeal. You know that you should be having some fruit. You know that you should be watching what you're putting in your body. And there you are again in the drive-through. There you are again telling the person through the headset what it is that you're trying to eat and how you're trying to get nutrition from McDonald's. Just know that those are decisions, right? When you are disgusted with who and what you are and how you are living your current life, and you get the desire to make the changes, you will also make decisions that fall suit with those first two emotions. When a person is disgusted with the way they look, right, and they have a desire to change the way they look, when that alarm goes off at 4:30, they jump out of bed. When a person is disgusted with the fact that the doctor just told them you have 10 years to live if you don't change the way you eat, has a desire to be able to walk their daughter down the aisle, has a desire to watch their kid graduate from high school, has a desire to live a long, healthy life, they'll be eating oatmeal in the morning. You don't believe it? Look around to the people that you know that have made changes in their life, and you will find that common theme. I promise you this. And again, a decision is when you're faced at the fork of a road, right? So it happens all the time, by the way. You made a decision to show up and watch this today. You could have watched some Saturday morning programming. You could have slept in a little bit, depending on what, where you're watching this, or taken a nap after you eat lunch. You chose to sit here. You chose to watch this. You made a decision to do so, right? Why did you? Because you feel like you're getting some value out of this. You're getting something out of this as opposed to something else. Now you have to be able to find value out of that oatmeal as opposed to something else. Find value out of going to walk in the morning as opposed to something else. And you can only do that yourself, right? So when you do that walk in the morning, when you make a decision to get out of bed and go do it, you're also telling yourself, I'm choosing to be healthy. I'm getting out of this healthy joints, healthy limbs. I'm getting out of this lower body weight, a better circulation. I'm getting out of this longer life so I can freaking laugh with my grandkids one day. That's what you're getting out of it. And the quality of your life, change happens based on the decisions you make in your life. So the emotion of making a decision, that civil war, it's an emotional one, right? We know when drug addicts, alcoholics want to give up their drugs and alcohol, that is such an emotional decision. It's not this easy thing that, hey, it's screwing up your life, so might as well stop doing it. If that was the case, everyone would get sober. Their entire identity is wrapped up in that. Who they are, the people they know, the life they've had, it's all wrapped up in it. The same way that when you look, and by the way, sometimes I want to help you get a little compassion to this, because family members always are baffled by the drug addict alcoholic who has all these consequences from their drug use and doesn't stop using their drug. Look around your life. How many people do you know that have consequences from their spending, from their eating, from their living habits, from their relationships, 4 or 5 divorces, that kind of stuff, but they don't stop what they're doing? right? There's no difference with that. It's universal when it comes to that. It's something that when you realize how hard it is for yourself, you might start to understand and grasp how hard it is for other people, even if it is with something so obvious as addiction. I mean, it's like these big glaring lights of how could you not see it? How could you not see that it's the drugs and alcohol that's screwing up your life? You know, with me, the story that I shared with my disgust, I told you when I felt that feeling, I didn't stop drinking right away. If anything, I drank more because I wasn't connecting the dots that it's only the drinking that's doing that. I thought it's all these other things like being a victim in life and life not being fair and just, I thought it was everything but that until I realized that actually it's that's causing everything else. So the decision's huge. It's when you get to a fork of a road of anything, just make a decision. Because here's the thing, the sooner sometimes people say, what if I pick and go to the wrong direction? Well, at least you'll know you went to the wrong, at least you'll know you get there like sooner. You'll find out you're in the wrong place sooner. At least just pick a direction and go. Indecision is a decision in itself, and it keeps people crippled. You know, people don't try things because they're afraid of failure. And sometimes just making a decision to try something allows us to grow in ways that we wouldn't think. So the next one that I have here, I threw in a bonus emotion. So this is the fourth one from Jim Rohn's talk. And then I threw one in there that I think is needed for lasting change if you're trying to change your life around today. And this one, so the fourth one is resolve. So some of you might need a little bit of clarity on the word resolve, and that's okay. I did, because I wasn't sure exactly where he was going with it. But you look at the word resolution, right? So we think, okay, that rings a bell. I make a New Year's resolution every year. And if that is the case with you, that's okay. So do another probably 350 million people in the United States. But here's a statistic from you that I heard from Tony Robbins talk. 96% of all New Year's resolutions are blown up within the first week. So January 7th of whatever year we're in, 96% of all New Year's resolutions are blown up. You want to know why? Because they don't associate the feeling of disgust with what it is they're trying to change. People just say, this year I just want to eat better. This year I just want to exercise more. This year I just want to call my family more. This year I just want to read a book every week. This year, I don't know why I'm making this voice. Like, I don't know why I changed my voice for it. It's just, I've heard it so many times because I'm a therapist, you know, and that's just the voice that I hear when people are telling me what they're going to do this year, rather than thinking like, yo, if you're trying to change your life, you don't need a day to be able to change your life, right? It's not like a special magic day in the future that all of a sudden your willingness, your commitment, and your work ethic, and your desire, and your persistence is just going to turn on. It's whenever someone tells me they're trying to change something, I have them tap into the feeling of disgust right away. Because until you're disgusted with what it is that you're talking about, you're not going to want to change it. It's just like you're okay with it, you're content with it, you're casual with it. So resolve comes from, resolution, and resolve actually means this. So, resolutions are really watered down in society, but resolve means I will do it or I will die. That's actually one of the ways of interpreting the word resolution. I will do it or I will die. Now imagine making a resolution like that every year. So just know, whatever you say you're making a resolution for, you're saying I will do it or I'll die. Everyone's like, you know what? I'm not going to make any resolutions this year. I'm okay. And it's a whole different way of looking at it. So you have to have resolve. And they ask, Jim Rohn asked this girl, hey, what do you, a classroom of little kids, what do you define resolve as? And the little girl raised her hand, a little shy, timid one. She said, just promising yourself that you're going to do what you said you're going to do, right? How simple is that? Promising yourself you're going to do what you said you're going to do. And human beings, we get really jaded with promise because growing up, I don't care who you are, people made promises to you, whether it's family, whether it's government, whether it's spouses, whether it's children. People make promises all the time, and we all know people don't follow through with those promises, and there's a certain feeling that we get from that, a feeling of letdown, disappointment, mistrust. But then we start telling ourselves we're going to do certain things, and we don't follow through. So we make promises to ourselves, that we fall short of. And we're doing to ourselves what others did to us. So resolve means when you make a promise to yourself, just follow through with it. There's no words more powerful than I will in the human language. Put I will in front of everything and just feel how different it sounds to you. Instead of saying I should go for a walk, I will go on a walk. I should eat the oatmeal, I will eat the oatmeal. I should call my family, I will call my family. I should whatever, I will. You show up in that moment, right? You become a participant in your life rather than just a casual observer. And how long do we try things? We do them until. How long do you try changing something? You do it until. How long does a mom give a baby time to walk? 3 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year? No, she gives until, right? And if you're a baby trying to make changes in your life, how long do you give yourself to achieve those goals? Until. And I realize it's 10:40 and I never drank any water today. I'm actually drinking a different type of water, so this is my normal talk. I'm so parched right now. I've been talking literally 2 hours straight. This is a very good sparkling mineral water from Trader Joe's. And the reason I'm saying that, I'm doing a hot yoga challenge. Our gym opened back up again, thank God. And I'm doing hot yoga, so every day hot yoga. And you lose a lot of minerals and a lot of salts through that process. This, I don't know if it's Gerolsteiner or Gerolsteiner. It's a German water. It has a lot of salt and minerals and that kind of stuff in it. It replenishes a lot of stuff back. So I will, hands down, my favorite water. I strongly recommend it. It's unflavored. So sometimes the absence of flavor is a flavor in itself. How about that? The absence of a flavor is a flavor in itself. And this is phenomenal. I strongly recommend it. And I'm really pumped that I'm giving this talk today. This is one of my favorite ones because this kind of stuff can really change someone's life around. And my hope is that one person's life gets impacted through this talk the way my life was impacted when I heard it originally from Jim Rohn. And the last one that I added to his list, so he's got the 4, I added the 5th one. The 5th one is gratitude. If you're trying to change your life around, the first thing you got to do is just get straight into gratitude. Okay? So when you focus on what you don't have in life, you will never have enough. There are people in this world that wake up in the morning, and from the time their eyes open till the time they force themselves to go back to sleep at night, all they do is focus on what they don't have in life, who they aren't in life. And the entire experience that unfolds through that process of that day is a feeling of scarcity, is a feeling of fear, is a feeling of resentment, is a feeling of frustration, anger, animosity, disempowered. And there are people who wake up and they focus on what it is that they have in life. Even if it's not that much, but they focus on what they have in life, and they will always have what they need, plus they'll even have some more. Because our thoughts become things. I'm not just saying that. I know it sounds, for some of you, it's like wishy-washy, you don't believe in that stuff, but there's actually science behind that thoughts can become things, that we can create the world that we experience through the power of visualization. There's a reason why NASA astronauts, which, they're very science-based, for some of you who don't know, where the mind goes, the body will follow. They do serious thought exercises, visualization exercises before going into any practice stuff, and for sure before going up in space, of what the experience is going to be, just at the level of thought. The more you think of things, the more they appear and show up in your life. And gratitude is one of those things. So if you're trying to change your life, so when I get in that feeling of disgust, right, I need to somehow also counteract that with a little bit of gratitude, because there are basic needs that human beings have to have in life. And if you have those needs, you're able to make transformation. If you don't, it's very, very difficult. So what are those basic needs? Stuff like food, shelter, water, and I'll even put love in there too. Some people don't put it in there, but I'll put love in there too. And pretty much safety. And without those, which most people watching this, you have those, just the fact that you're watching Facebook on a smartphone or a laptop, you probably have those things in your life. So you have the ability to make certain changes, but that's the foundational point. Once you have those, anything and everything else is possible. So I'm going to go through, just tell you what the 5 different emotions were that could change your life around today. You don't have to wait till December 31st to say 2021 is going to be better. I mean, the 4th quarter, Q4 just started October 1st. Fall just started September 21st, the fall equinox, October 1st we'll call it. Why wait till January 2021 for next year to be better than this year? Why not today be better than yesterday? Why not this season to be better than the last season? I mean, what is it, magic? All of a sudden something's going to change? What if it doesn't, right? If nothing changes, nothing changes. You can change. So look in your life, identify where you can find a little bit of disgust. It was channeled properly. It's the most powerful thing, gut-wrenching disgust. Turn on the desire. If you need help turning it on internally, find external sources, watch talks on YouTube, watch documentaries, talk to people that have what you are looking to get. Turn on the desire. Make a decision. Make a decision today, not tomorrow, not next week, not next month. Make a decision. And when you have the disgust and desire there, you'll jump up when the alarm clock goes up. You'll make the right food choice. You'll go to the right places. You'll spend time with the right people. And you'll keep following that because you understand the importance of resolve. And what is resolve? Is I will do it until. Promise yourself you'll do something and do it. And the very last one is gratitude. None of this stuff matters if you can't find gratitude in the things you have in life currently. And thank you for the compliments. There was a lot of nice things that were said real quick down there. I appreciate you guys. Love you guys. I will see you next week for another personal development. Again, watch these on Facebook. They're available to you for free and for all. So share them with other people too. I'd really appreciate that. Thanks, everyone. Have a good one.